All right. Good morning, everybody. Had to check the watch. We actually practiced this morning, which is a little bit different. So just want to wish everybody out there a very happy Thanksgiving. And, this is what football is all about, Thanksgiving week. And, we have our annual Row the Boat Turkey Drive this week, tomorrow, which I know our players are really excited about. Maurice Wilson does a great job of heading that up with Cub Foods, who's a huge sponsor of ours and great supporter of not only our program, but so many in the community. And it's going to benefit a lot of families in need. And Coach Wilson does a great job of heading that up, and close to 500 turkeys this year. So when you're talking about, and those are whole meals, our players will be out there and probably have half our team. A lot of them have class at night, but about half our team out there helping give out those turkeys. So a lot to be grateful for, a lot to be thankful for as we get into Thanksgiving week. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and I'll open up for questions.
Given the short week, how do you mentioned practicing this morning, how have you flipped the schedule? How have you changed the schedule to accommodate the Friday game?
Yeah, you've got to be really creative based on, you got to really kind of have a feel for your team. And so we went this morning, and they were here at 6 a.m., and we actually had a practice this morning, a first and second down Tuesday type practice. So the coaches came in basically right after the Penn State game and started working. And so Monday we had this morning we had our practice. They'll come back tonight for meetings. So we'll have more Tuesday meetings tonight because the meetings today were pretty short. And then we'll just continue to go. Tomorrow's a Wednesday already, and then we're in a technique Thursday on Wednesday, and then we travel on Thursday, which is really a Friday for us. So it's just one of those really quick weeks, but our guys really adapted pretty well and had a really good morning.
With the benefit of hindsight now, do you wish you would have gone punt safe on that 4th and 1?
You make calls throughout that game. I think if you look at every head coach, there's probably calls that if James has and Coach Franklin has, that if he gets it, they're great calls. If he doesn't, and he's got to answer questions why those calls aren't there. You make calls in the heat of the moment of what you want and why you're calling it. Either way, we still have to be able to defend it. And when you're going after 1 yard, those are the calls people have to make. But either way, we have to execute, and we didn't do that, and that's my responsibility.
You've got signing day next week, and the 105 is going to be into effect before the start of next season. How has roster building kind of changed with Marcus and Garrett trying to figure out everything?
Yeah, first of all, Garrett Chernoff and Marcus Henderson do such a great job. I think their roles have expanded, though they have changed, and it's not like we're adding 15 people in a department to handle that for them. They've really taken on a lot more and a lot more responsibility, and they've had a lot to begin with. But I trust those two tremendously. And we have a lot of conversations throughout the day. As we get towards signing day, it's not just signing day. It's looking at the roster in the future. It's having conversations with players in the bye week. I met with a lot of players. I'll meet with a lot of players after the Wisconsin game. I'll meet with players that following week. You start to get a feel of what the retention is going to look like. Once you know what the retention is going to look like, and then who signs on signing day, now you can look at what you're going to add in the portal. And it's just ongoing. It used to be there were ends, and okay, that was the end of high school recruiting. Okay, now we're going to go into this. It just continues to go all the way through the summer, Ryan, and it just continues to adapt. You have to continue to adapt. You got to be open to a lot of scenarios, and I think Garrett and Marcus do a really good job of keeping an open mind. And then you kind of go with it, because some of it's inside your control and most of it's not. So it's all about the response factor and what do you have ready to go. And I think that's what they do really, really well.
PJ, do you like the signing day on the 4th, or would you rather have it where it was the last couple of years at the end of December?
No, I like where it is. I mean, there's a lot of other things that we could talk about, whether I like it or don't like it, but that one I think is pretty irrelevant of where it is. I like it at the beginning of December, especially for us. I like to be able to know who's going to do that. But the whole NLI thing, I mean, that doesn't even exist anymore. So, that's what makes it really unique.
What would you like to see streamlined in the schedule, where you've got postseason play, free agency, high school recruiting, all of those things kind of at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when people talk about college football right now, they're saying, oh, well, we have an NFL model, or it's kind of moving towards the NFL. First of all, it's nothing like the NFL. There's a collective bargaining agreement. There's a true salary cap for everybody. It's designed for all 32 fan bases to win the Super Bowl maybe once every 32 years. And I know other people are winning that a lot more than others, but that's how it's designed. And college football is not that way with the salary cap, and then now you're going to add NIL, and there's no limit to that. It's not that way. But there's a lot of things as you start to look at, like, what could we do better? Just I can't really say the regulations on all of it of what makes it better for everybody, I think needs to continue to be looked at as we go forward. But all of it at once, the NFL has all things at different times where you're focusing on just that. College football, it's all of it all the time, pretty much all the way up to the summer. And I think that's what makes it a little more unique than the NFL.
You had mentioned in particular after the Michigan game how the team came together. Did you see a lot of similar traits after this loss?
I did. I thought the locker room was really similar to the Michigan locker room. These guys were devastated after that game. Anybody would be, as much as you pour into it. And we've had 7 one-possession games. We've won 3. We've lost 4. I mean, this is a really, really, really good 6-5 football team that we have. And they've played a really challenging schedule, and it's really competitive. And the parity, when you look at it, and you look at like the 5th team in the Big Ten down to maybe the 14th team in the Big Ten, they're all within 1 or 2 wins and losses from each other. And it's all really close. And this is what we talked about, what the new Big Ten is going to look like. Because it goes all the way down to that last game of who separates themselves and maybe 1 loss or 1 win above somebody else. It's crazy. But that locker room was a tough locker room to talk to because they just care so much. As a football coach, you just want your team to care like this team cares. And they play that way. When you watch them play, as a coach, you couldn't ask for anything more. Are mistakes going to get made? Yes. Am I perfect? No. Are they perfect? No. But the coach is perfect? No. But the amount of effort that goes in to a day-to-day operation or a practice or a game or the effort they give, and everybody's giving everyone the best chance to be successful. You couldn't ask for anything more from an organization. And being the head football coach and the leader of that organization, I couldn't ask for anything more from anybody inside the organization right now. And I truly mean that. And that's what's really hard when it comes down to that one possession or that 1 point and you come up short. You're looking them all in the eye and they're looking at you like, what's next? What do we do now? And I think that's the challenging part. But this team has responded all year, and they're fun to work with, and they care a ton.
When you talk about response, I imagine having a rivalry game right away after that helps.
Yeah, I think any game helps. But I think just, being to the last game, you have that emotion piece of senior day last week. That's one thing. But now it's getting very real where it wasn't just your last home game. Now it's your last regular season game. There's guys that will probably play in the bowl game. Some guys might not. This will be their last time ever playing as a Gopher. Wisconsin has the same thing. This is the, 1890 is the first time we played this football team coming up. And this is what it's all about. And you wouldn't want to have it any other way. Being able to end the season with one of your biggest rivals. And I know our guys will be ready to go, ready to play, and both teams will be really focused. So no matter what happened at the beginning, middle, towards the end of the year, that's all thrown out the window. And now you just got to play your best football for 3 hours against one of your biggest rivals. That's really, really exciting in a holiday week.
What stands out to you about this Wisconsin team?
Yeah, I mean, we're still studying, what they do. It's only Monday, but it truly is Tuesday. But they can score points really quickly. They have a really explosive offense. The receivers are playing at a really high level. Quarterback finds ways to get the ball into small, tight windows. They have a really big, athletic offensive line. They run the ball really well. They have 2 really good backs. I mean, they have more backs than that, but this freshman's really, really good. Number 3 we know about because he played with Marcus Major at Oklahoma. Really good back, breaks tackles. Quarterback, again, like I said, fitting the ball into tight windows, and he can run, and he's athletic. Defensively, they're big, they're stout, they're physical. A typical Wisconsin team. I mean, they play and they swarm around, swarm to the football, find a way to create takeaways on defense, and they're well coached. So, we got to play our best football game. I think that's the whole message to our football team is the first 11 we got a chance to learn from to apply all those 11 lessons from games into this one game.
The response you talk about from your team, but it's probably going to be a big one from them as well. Coming off a big loss, and now they're fighting to keep that long bowl streak they've had alive. Just how much are you coaching of your players on that to expect a hot starter push from them?
Oh, I don't think we expect anything less ever. I don't think you need to even really tell them that. I think that when you know it's Wisconsin, Minnesota, I mean, both teams are going to leave everything they have out there. And I don't think it matters of what happened the week before or what happens the week after. It's all about that 1 week. I think that's what's fun about rivalries is, the records get thrown out the window. What you did in the past gets thrown out the window. You get to learn from everything and go apply it. 1-game championship season, and that's how we're taking it.
PG, do you prefer the game on Friday, or would you like to see this rivalry game back to Saturday?
I don't have a preference, whether it's Friday or Saturday. I just love playing it. So, there's other things that are way above my pay grade of why things are done and the schedules are made and the TV deals, and we're just really grateful. 11 a.m. kickoff, and we'll be there in Madison, and look forward to a great game.
You mentioned the turkey drive tomorrow night. Why is that so important to prioritize that given the week with cramming everything in for the Friday game?
Yeah, because you got to put things in perspective. The wins and losses, that's one thing. The rivalry, we'll be ready to play. But to say that you're not willing to stop at some moment to give to families in need, 500 families in need, and have the platform that we have as coaches and as players at the University of Minnesota, to not use that platform as positive and to say we have other things to worry about, I've never believed that. I believe that you have to bring reality to an entertainment-type world. At the end of the day, our players now get paid to be a student athlete and then also go entertain people. But there's time for real life, and this is a game that we play. And game that we get to coach. And there are way bigger things out there than us winning and losing football games. That does not stunt our preparation, just like, right, when we had our Halloween extravaganza, right? And that was on a Tuesday or Wednesday? Monday night it was one of the Illinois week. It's on a Monday night. So that's game plan week. And our coaches dressed up with their own children and then had Hope Kids here for the Halloween extravaganza. And we beat a ranked team. So it's not like I'm sitting there saying, oh, man, we can't do that because we got these 2 hours and I've got to sacrifice this for this. We find the 2 hours to make up for it. And our players, that's something that I'll never sacrifice. That's for sure. So can't wait to help a lot of families in need. And that's what Thanksgiving's all about. And we want to be able to keep teaching those things, right? That there's other things that come before certain things in your life, and make sure you keep those priorities straight in a world that can sometimes distort all that. I don't want to be that leader that distorts that. I want to make sure they understand the perspective.
Dan Lanning took a different approach to the Jumparound earlier this year, where he coached his players on, he played in practice. Is that something that you're trying to take as well, and you've probably done?
We'll handle it the way we've always handled it. I think Coach Lanning's a fun guy. He is. If you ever get a chance to be around, he's a fun guy. But for, I think, coming into the league and not being in that environment before, I think that was probably part of it. We get a chance to listen to it all the time, every day in practice, as you get a chance to come around us and be around us, and we prepare for that every single day. But again, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people there doing it. We're just going to prepare for the next drive.
PJ, you talk about not having regrets when it comes to play calling, given the benefit of time to reflect on the tackle throwback. Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I don't regret any decision, because you're calling the decision based on the information you have at that time and what you want to do. You prepare all week for that particular situation. Now, did we execute it? No. Did Max make a great decision and throw it away? Absolutely. Some things you call don't work, and they don't work the way you wanted it to work. The lateral flea flicker pass worked great. If that doesn't work, that's a terrible call. We got a touchdown out of that one. Penn State's red zone defense is one of the best in the country. And we have the ball at the 9-yard line. That's the worst place to have the football against Penn State. So you better have some options. And we thought it was a really good option. We still get points. And again, we held them to field goals too. And we forced them into decisions that if they don't get that, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered as well. So, that's part of the game. But I usually never have any regrets. I learn from certain things, but I don't have any regrets based on the decision, the information. You do it, and then you never look back. And the game unfolds as the game unfolds. And you have to be able to – we don't have the benefit of hindsight. We don't have the benefit of 2020. We don't, hindsight is 2020. You don't have that. You don't have the benefit of that. And so you got to make the best calls available, and just like every call that we made. But usually after every game, Andy, you look back and you're like, there's 2 or 3 calls that you're like, okay, that could have went either way, or hey, okay, we'll do this next time. Or, let's make sure when we call that, this happens. But it's the look we wanted. It's just, they basically bring it's a pressure, but it's still man. They just happened to drop 11. They hadn't dropped 11 like that all year. So they got us on that one. And then we threw it away and lived to see third down and didn't execute the next play. It's about execution.
Take 1 or 2 more for Coach. Do you have a newfound kind of respect for NFL GMs now that you're talking about having conversations with player on your roster about retention and how do you allocate salary to who and at what positions?
It's a great question, Ryan, because I think people have asked me, like, what has changed? I think the head coaching job has changed because you're not just the head coach anymore. And you used to wear a lot of hats as a head coach. But now it's also partially the GM, hat, the president hat, all these other things that continue to go into it just adds to it. There's nothing that's taken off the plate. It just continues to get put on the plate. But absolutely, it's not like I didn't have appreciation for it before. But you're not having those types of conversations in college football that we're having. So I think everybody's adapting to that. It's not just a newfound respect for an NFL GM. I think everybody that's at this profession knows what an NFL GM does and how they do it. But it's when you have to do that plus everything else. There's a reason why there's just a GM and there's a head football coach, right? And there's a president of operations and there's all these, there's a CEO. There's all these other things of the organization. There's a vice president. There's all these things in an NFL organization like a business. In college football, it's like, all right, we're going to make all these changes. And some people can afford to make all those changes and add staffs and add a whole department, a whole new building. Whether that goes that direction or not, I'm not sure which direction it goes and which way it continues to go. But that's where, like I said, Garrett Chernoff, his job has expanded. Marcus Hendrickson, his job has expanded. Everybody in recruiting is wearing a few more hats. But to say that, that you're used to doing those conversations, this is the first year we're doing it. And we'll just like when we started NIL and just like when we started the portal, there's always things you're going to learn throughout the first year that you apply the second year and second year to third year. And we'll just continue to do that. But it is unique. That's for sure.
We have a final one for Coach, or is everyone else set?
I never used to hear Coach, I think you should talk to my agent. Now I know how Mark Coyle feels. All right, roll the boat, Sky Mile, go Gophers. Happy Thanksgiving.